easy. Okay, so
that's my intro.
This is Matt Reisinger. You know who he is. If you do not know who he is, go right now to Build Show. I just want to say thank you up front. Every time Matt puts somebody in one of his videos, it basically changes our careers because you just have so many viewers. So thank you.
Appreciate that.
Okay, so what I want to talk about today is, since we've got a builder, and I'm not one, I'm always talking about like how to get what you need out of the home that you're building with normal people. A lot of my clients happen to be like individuals who are GCing their own home, which I think is very exciting.
That is interesting.
Because you care more than anybody in your area. And so you should be the one who's kind of leading the charge. But there are a couple things probably that you have to say about that.
There's a few pitfalls there.
Okay, so lay it on us.
Okay, so if you're gonna GC your house, a couple things you need to know that I always tell people, like, look, when you hire me as a builder, you're hiring me plus a few other people to actually be on site. And we caught a quiet afternoon where everyone's gone for the day right now. But if this was an active job site at 10 a.m., there might be 3 or 4 subs on the job that have questions. And if you're not around to answer those questions, let's say you're traveling for work or you have a conference call or whatever, they very well might just move forward what they think needs done. Yep. And then you're gonna come to the end of the day and go, oh no, that's not what I was expecting at all, right? So GCing your own house, you really need to know that, hey, you need to take this seriously as your full-time job. I would highly recommend you set up a job desk. And if you have to take a Zoom call, do it at the job, so that someone can go, oh, can I interrupt you for a second? I got a question over here. Yeah, I'll be back to the meeting. Yes, Mr. Ductman, Mr. Electrician, let's get this right. You have to be on the job. It's vital to be on the job. The other thing is, when I have subs that go to my jobs, I've been building now for almost 20 years. I have some subs that have been on the job, like this duct guy who's here has done the duct work in every single house I've ever built. So I don't have to be here anymore when Jeff and the crew is here, because I know what they're gonna do. Jeff knows exactly what I'm expecting. And if I do something different, in general, they're gonna be like, yeah, no problem, boss, because I know I'm getting the next job from you. If you're a solo person who's never done it before, you're finding subs you don't know, they're not loyal to you, they may or may not care, frankly, whether you're happy with their work, they just wanna get paid. And so there's less of this, I know what to expect and I'm gonna make it happen on your job site. So there's a couple of downsides that you just need to know that aren't gonna happen when you GC your own house. And also, when you hire me as a builder, it's not just me, it's my people, it's my subcontractors, it's the guy like Jeff who's worked for me for 20 years that you're hiring. And yes, I charge a higher percentage. Well, part of that is because I've got a whole team of people that are on my job sites all the time that are just as trained and just as professional as I am.
And we found that when we were building our house, which took us 2 years, and I want to talk about experience too in a second, but I had to go and learn how to get each piece, like the supplier too. You have suppliers that you know how to order the things. Now I have to go and find every single little thing and like, where do I get replacement screws that are this long?
Yeah, that's
right. On the day of. Yeah. So the other thing is that when you watch our channel, you watch Grace and I build our house in 2 years, which is a long time for some people. They're like, why did it take you so long? And I don't know, how long does it take you to build a house?
Usually 2 years.
Okay, all right. So
let's be honest,
when
it takes
you
me
see
2
that,
years most of the time.
Grace and I had like 12 years of building science, of inspecting new buildings behind us. And so we stepped into it with a fair amount of experience. If you're getting your master's degree in building science on YouTube, good job. Like
Love it. Do it.
We're all for it.
It's fantastic.
But just know that it's going to take you a little longer, cost you a little bit more. I'm terrible at budgeting and scheduling, and that's like a big part of your job.
Yeah, and the last thing that I'd mention on that specific point is if you don't have some building experience, you've been in another career and you're going to GC your own house, I'm not saying don't, but remember that you're not going to see some things that a seasoned builder might see, whether it's building science related or whether it's just plain old structure or fire stopping or whatever. And so, for instance, we're at a job site. Can I point something out here?
Yeah, oh, please.
This is a job of ours under construction. We're on a screen porch area. This is an unconditioned porch. This will get a screen in this wall. And when I walked into this job under construction, I realized, oh shoot, we framed this wall, but we really should have cinder blocked this wall, because if water gets in here, because it's a screen, there's not a window that's blocking the water from coming in. If water gets in here and water drips in right here, let's say, this is going to change, this is not complete, but let's use this as an example. Water gets in here, even though this is an open cavity with no insulation, there's no drying potential here. And so water that gets in here every time it rains will lead to rot on here. And you know how I know this? Because I messed this up once before, 15 years ago on a job, where I framed a screen porch with really nice LSL studs, like OSB type studs. I wanted it nice and tall and straight. And the waterproofing details I used on the screens was not good. Water leaked in there and had nowhere to dry. It had stucco on the outside and stucco on the inside. And I came back 3 or 4 years later and had to rip out the whole porch on my dime and fix it.
Yeah.
So there's something to be said about having that wisdom of experience on the job. So if you're GCing your own house, a couple things I'd recommend. Number one, get some smart people to help, right? Whether that's Corbett, whether that's somebody else, have them design your HVAC system. And then find some folks that will come in and look at it with a fresh set of eyes a couple times during construction for you as well. And know that it can be a great experience. I know lots of people that have built their own house and done an amazing job, but you have to make the time to do it right, and you have to have the time to do it right. So if you're a 50-hour-a-week career person, now's not the time in your life stage to do it.
No.
If you're semi-retired, if you just sold your business, if you are retired, great, maybe that's a perfect time for you to do it. But you might hire some really smart people to come in and check that out.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I had multiple builders. Like I asked Matt, I cornered him at a conference. It was like, hey, here's what I'm planning with my roof. What do you think? And that's like a very important thing to do with anybody. Just grab everybody you can. Remember that if you are going to be doing this for the first time, the first home is your most difficult one. So if you're a new builder and you're trying to build the way that Matt's building, the first one is going to be it's going to be a nightmare. And then the second one's a lot easier. So don't do it the way we did it, where you're just going to build one and then you're never going to build again.
That's a great point.
It's just a little inefficient. So let's talk about contractors for a second.
Okay.
Because if you are going to GC your own project, then you're going to need to get subcontractors to work for you. I didn't want to do all the drywall and the tile and all this. So it's like, this is craftsmanship in some, hopefully, right?
Sure.
So how do you find a craftsman who is also going to do high performance? What are the questions?
Oh man, that's a hard one. Ultimately the way that I found those folks when I started my company was asking around other builders and really getting involved with my local builders association, the Home Builders Association. So if you're a young builder watching this, I think a local HBA is a great way to get involved, because you can meet older builders who are willing to tell you both wisdom and subcontractors potentially. But another way to do it, frankly, is to drive around town and see what subs are working on which jobs. And if you find a really good builder, look to see who's working on their jobs. You're not stealing them. That's common knowledge to see that person's van with their logo is parked in front of that builder's job site. Yeah. So you're not stealing them. But that's a good place to start, is to have a conversation with subs that are working for good builders.
Let me ping this off you. So we've got this HVAC list. If you don't know the HVAC list for scientific HVAC installers, I'm looking on the screen right now.
Cool.
The questions, it's an honor system. It's free to list yourself. It's free to look at it.
Awesome.
It's just an Excel spreadsheet. And what I ask the HVAC installers is, do you believe in math? Do you believe in science? And do you know that high performance homes are going to have a much lower HVAC system size?
Yeah.
And if they say yes to those things, I'm like, great, you're on the list.
Cool.
Because I think open-mindedness is one of the most important things.
Yeah.
Have you found the same thing with builders and with subs?
Yes and no. I tend to work, I'm in this really sweet spot where I've always got 5 or 6 projects going, and I've done that for 2 decades now. So I tend to work with the same folks over and over. But I would say anecdotally, I've seen over the years, especially in this market, we've gotten more and more good folks that are getting trained and are moving out there watching your videos, they're watching my videos. I talked to one of my guys who actually had you train them for their BPI certification?
Oh, nice.
A really smart guy that we know who's really handsome.
Got long beard.
Long beard.
Huge beard.
So, I think every day our pool of folks that are getting educated is better and better. But you have to be a little cautious, right? Like, just because they have the moniker of Mitsubishi Diamond Dealer, let's say, or some other good moniker, there's nothing, I'm not disparaging that. That doesn't necessarily mean that you know what you're doing and that you're trained. So for instance, I always say, let's get an outside third-party person, whether it's Corbett or somebody else, to do an HVAC design and a load calc. And then I give that information to my guy. Because I've got a guy, for instance, like if you just look around this house, Corbett, fantastic duct installer. Amazing. Look at this sheet metal trunk line running straight through the center of the house. It's sheet metal that's been outside insulated. It's like as good as it gets. But the guy who did this and his team, if he's watching, I love you, Jeff, is not the guy that I'm having to do the manual J. And he's not the guy that I'm saying, let's figure out the equipment together, right? Now, I might do that if I have a manual J or if I have some good ideas. It's just I'm paying someone else to do all the calcs and all the math.
Because the
Does that make
skill
sense?
of sitting in front of a computer for like 8 to 10 hours building that is not the same skill as putting the system in.
Exactly. And also remember too that the guy who's bidding it for you, you don't want to do the design, because if you're just willy-nilly getting 3 bids in the job and you're not providing those specs, there's no way you can get a really good apples to apples install. The average, especially owner builder, has no idea what kind of ductwork they're getting, what kind of filtration they're getting. It may spec some particular furnace model number, or you're getting a 2-stage air handler, but other than that, you really don't know what you're getting. And if you have 2 or 3 bids, you have no idea whether these are even, one guy's speccing a 5-ton and one guy's doing a 3-ton. So it's hard to know what you're getting. Whereas if I give them your specs or Positive Energy specs or somebody else out there who's doing those, then I can really get a much more concise, much more correct price from an HVAC contractor on the job.
So if you are going to be hiring a builder, I had one of our friends went to Vermont and sat down with a builder, and the builder immediately asked 2 questions, which I thought were like amazing questions. I don't know what questions you asked to vet your clients. One of them was, what is your air tightness target? Which I was like, ooh, very fancy. And then the other one was, who is your favorite building scientist?
Oh, interesting.
And I thought those will tell you so much about a person, because like if they don't know the answers to those.
So what did your client say? Corbett Lunsford.
He probably said Matt Rising.
I wasn't fishing for that.
I mean, there's only a few people, but I think that the style of what you're looking for, there's like so many of, there's not that many of us, but like we all have a slightly different extremism.
Sure.
We're all extremists in a certain way.
Yeah, for sure.
So how do you vet your clients? Like, what if I went into a builder's office and they didn't ask me those questions? Should I be worried?
No, not necessarily. I think, to be honest, my clients are looking for integrity first from builders. And it's sad that we're in an industry that people are like, are you honest or not? I mean, there's so much party fodder of builders that have had a problem, that left people in the lurch, that took money. It's such a low bar in our industry. I hate that about our industry. I'm trying to change that. But I think, honestly, when people are looking for a contractor, they're looking for somebody who's honest first. On the contractor side. And for me, it's kind of the same. Like, I'm looking for a client that's really a high integrity person too. I'm looking for someone who's going to trust me when I tell them, hey, we need to do this on your house. And honestly, I'm looking for people that are going to pay their bills too, and have integrity with me, that I say, here's your invoice. Can you please pay me in 3 or 4 days, because I need to pay all these people who are in line for that check. So this is kind of a side note, and I don't tell many people this, but I use my contract as a vetting tool. So I have a fairly builder-oriented contract that kind of feels one-sided, so to speak. And if they bleed all over the contract and have their attorney give 37 things they want to change, I'm usually very early on like, I don't know if this relationship's going to work, guys. This is our contract. We've used it for a long time. And, if you had 1 thing or 2 things you want to change, I'd be willing to talk about that. But we're not going to go to your style contract. We're not going to do this other type of contract. We're not going to negotiate on these 25 points. I need you to trust me as a builder, and this contract is my contract. And the people that haven't gone with that, I've heard back later they hired another builder and there was trouble.
Yeah. A lot of you will watch even Matt's channel and you'll see a brand new product and you'll be like, I want that. And no one in your area has ever used it before. Being a builder is really scary. And so they don't want to do that. And so if you force them to do that kind of thing, like you're going to get pushback. And I personally know people who have had like builders fire them and just be like, nobody is actually doing the job in your market because like just everybody's hands off. Like, this looks too scary. And that's a real thing. So like,
You have to be a little cautious if we're talking to owner builders here. Like, if you're in a marketplace that doesn't normally do really good details, you need to figure out what your priorities are. Like, this is a non-negotiable for me, and this is really important, and this is a nice to have. And you have to kind of go through that list, and especially when you're hiring a builder, and go, okay, this is a non-negotiable. Like, I really want a 1.5 ACH50 or better. All of my ductwork needs to be in the conditioned space on this house. Those are non-negotiables, so can you do that for me, Mr. Builder? And if they'll push back on those, and I don't know, I don't ever blower door test, and I was planning on putting ducts in your attic or your unvented crawl space, okay, they may not be the right person for you. But then when it comes to some fantastically cool ERV that you've seen at my house, maybe that's the cool to have, but it's not a must have, or whatever it is, if we're talking specifically to owner builders here.
If you're hiring your own subcontractors and you're going to be that owner operator, take a page out of Scott True's book, who we both admire, because he will adapt. There's almost no like no-go for him. He's like, what are you willing to do? Can you do this? And they say no. He's like, okay, all right. How about this? And he'll just have a whole bucket of things. Like, what about this? What about this? So don't lose patience. If you have your first idea and they say no, come back with another idea. Use your creative thinking.
That's smart, yeah. And then Scott also kind of self-performs a little bit too with his guy and himself even sometimes.
Yeah.
Like if they won't do a rain screen, okay, well you do the framing and then I'll do the rain screen. Or I'll put the rain screen up, then you put the siding on. Or I'll detail the foundation to framing, Sega tape or Fentrum or whatever the fluid applied is there. So Scott will pick up all those little pieces, and I think that's great. And I would recommend that even if you're maybe hiring a GC who's not a very performance-oriented GC, ask them if you can do a few of those details yourself, right?
Which again comes back to you're going to spend a lot of time at that site, whether or not you're the builder. So thank you very much for all the work that you do for this industry and for us. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure that you're subscribed to Matt's channel. Where can you find more about what you want to tell people?
Thebuildshow.com is the best place. You can see it all there.
Okay, awesome. Comment below if you have anything else to add about this topic. Like and subscribe. Tune in next time.